Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashta Prayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So today we are actually looking at four verses. So verses are 33 to 36. These are the four verses in the fourth canto, 28th chapter. Yeah, thank you so much. This is visible now. I'll just read the first one and then the others can take turns, one shloka and translation. So you can put up your hands for that. Okay. 4:28:33. विभज्य तनयेभ्यः क्षमां राजर्षेर्मलयध्वजः आरिराद्येषु कृष्णं स जगामाकुलाचलम्. So, yes, Meenakshi Mataji, you can read the verse again and then we can go to the translation.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vibhajya tanayebhya maam rajasvirmalaya vajah आर्य आद्ययिषु कृष्णं स जगामकुलाचलम्. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada teaches. After this, the great saintly king Malayadvaja divided his entire kingdom among his sons. Then, in order to worship Lord Krishna with full attention, he went to a solitary place known as Kulachala. Hare.
Thank you so much. So move on to the next verse. 34. Shilpa Mataji's hand is up. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hitva grihana sutana bhogana vedarbi madirekshana anvadhavat pandayesham jyotsneva rajanikaram. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Just as the moonshine follows the moon at night, immediately after King Malayadvaja departed for Kulachala, his devoted wife, whose eyes were very enchanting, followed him, giving up all homely happiness despite family and children. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. And then other two verses together, 35 and 36. When we have the next one? Yeah, thank you. So, Kripamai Mataji, her hand is up. You can go ahead with this verse.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Tatsa chandravasana tam prani vato dakam tatpunya salile nityam prabhadayatra mahatmano marjin kandaste birimula palale pushpa pranis Dakshe Pattamana Gatram Karsanamam Tapa Astitaha. Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandat.
Hare Krishna. The translation, anybody else who is not?
Can I read, ma'am?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, we can't hear you.
Used to go to those pious rivers regularly and take his bath there. Thus he purified himself externally and internally. He took his bath and ate bulbs, leaves, flowers, fruits, and grasses, and drank water. In this way, he underwent severe austerities. Eventually, he became very skinny.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so these are the 4 verses that we'll be looking at for today. So before we get started, Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So before we get started, just seeking the mercy, the blessings of all the Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis who are here, very senior devotees, kindly bless.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I can't hear anything.
Mataji, Prabhuji has got logged out. I think his net might be
Okay,
weak.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, I got disconnected for some reason. So anyway, we can continue. So yeah, like I was saying, I'm seeking the mercy and the blessings of all the devotees here, so that the right words come at the right time in the right spirit. Doing this as a service for the Guru Parampara, for the pleasure of the Lordships, and for my own purification. Hare Krishna. So this verses, the background, I think all of you are aware. So what is the title of this particular chapter? So this is about how Puranjana becomes a woman in her next life. So that's the chapter that we are discussing. We are in the 33rd verse. So here, Narada Muni is actually talking to Prachina Barihi, and then he is narrating the story of Puranjana, the next life, in his next life. So in the next life, he is born as a woman, and he is called as, what's the name? Why? He becomes a queen, and he is marrying Malayadhvaja. So he's another king. So he's marrying him, and then he's got a family and all that in the role as a queen, as a woman. And then he's bearing children, and all of that is happening. And then after ruling for many, many years, then Malayadhvaja, who is a very saintly king, he actually divides his kingdom. Now he is getting into Vanaprastha ashram. So he is dividing the entire kingdom among his sons. And then, in order to worship Lord Krishna with full attention, he is actually leaving the kingdom, and he wants to go to a solitary place, which is called as Kulachala. So this solitary place probably is in the forest somewhere, so away from all the people, the society, the crowd, so that's where he is going. So this was the verse that we are seeing. विभज्य तनयेभ्यः क्षमां राजर्षिर्मलयध्वजः आरिराध्येषु कृष्णम्. Ariradhyeshu Krishnam. That means what? Desiring to worship Lord Krishna. Sa Jagama Kulachalam. Jagama means going. So he went to Kulachala. So this is what is being told here. Now, if you look at the purport, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada actually talks about how it is not advisable for somebody to do bhakti or to practice bhakti in solitude. Because see, our movement, we all know we are all Goshtianandis. We are not Brajanandis. Brajanandis are ones who would like to stay independent, alone, and then they would like to do their worship. But there is a great danger there in that particular path, and it is not recommended for neophytes, for people who are starting their journey in bhakti. When it just started, it is more for a very senior devotee, a very advanced devotee, a Paramahamsa kind of a devotee. Such personalities can practice this aspect of going, isolating themselves, and then, continue their bhakti. Otherwise, it is not advisable for all others. So the word that is being used here, there are around 4 words which are there. If you look at all the shlokas for today, so we've got 4 words or phrases which we will dwell upon, which will give us the content of what is being spoken in these verses by Narada Muni. And of course, Prabhupada's purport, which adds to clarity with respect to understanding them. So, here Prabhupada is saying that the bhakti that we want to do, so there is this strong desire or intention to do bhakti, aridhradyeshu Krishnam. That means desiring to worship Lord Krishna. So the intention is very good. But then he retires to Malayadhvaja, he retires to a forest, to a solitary place, Kulachala. Then he wants to do that. So now the word or the phrase that is used is called Nirjana Bhajana. Bhajan means then to glorify the Lord. Our bhakti cult depends upon Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So these are the 3 main essential things that it depends on, more so from Shravanam and Kirtanam. So this Shravanam and Kirtanam is for Vishnu and for no one else, so we know that. And that is called as bhajan. Now, Nirjana Bhajana is the phrase that is of importance here. So, what is Nirjana Bhajana? Jana means people. Nirjana means no people. That means alone. So, Nirjana Bhajana. So, trying to do devotional service alone. So, this is called as silent worship of the Supreme Lord, and it is not possible for a neophyte devotee or a devotee who has just started his bhakti journey. Now, in the puppet, we also see how what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura is saying. He has also never advised the neophyte devotee to do this nirjana bhajana. So, in fact, Thakura Pad has actually written a song which is called as um, what is that? What sort of a Vaishnava are you? Vaishnava K, in that it comes, Dushtamana tumi kishera Vaishnava pratishtharatare nirjanena ghare tava harinama kevala kaitava. Like that, one of the stanzas, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura is saying how this is dushta mana. That means the mind is very, very dushta or wicked. So my mind is so wicked. So what type of a Vaishnava I am? So that's how this poem goes. In that, it says that, just for cheap adoration, pratishtare tare nirjanera ghare. Nirjanera means I am seeking solitary place. Nirjana, nirjanera sare, seeking solitary place just for cheap adoration, pratishta. So people will look upon me and then they'll say, oh, what a great person. Alone he is sitting and doing some sadhana and that kind of a thing. And then I'm just pretending to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. I'm just pretending to do Shravanam. I'm pretending to do Kirtanam. But this is all cheating. Means I myself, I know that I am cheating. So that's the mood in which he is speaking. And the context, I mean, the essence is that he is saying Nirjana Bhajana is not advisable for people who, I mean, for devotees who have just started their journey. Then, on the contrary, the advice for every devotee is that one has to do devotional service under the expert guidance of the spiritual master, and they need to preach the bhakti cult or the Krishna consciousness all over the world. So that is what our ISKCON very strongly believes, that Srila Prabhupada very strongly and very dedicatedly took this upon himself, this particular advice from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura, who is his spiritual master. In fact, I shouldn't say it is a coincidence, but then we know today is actually the disappearance day of His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura or Goswami Maharaj. So he actually, today we are actually celebrating his disappearance day or Thirobhav Divas. So in fact, wanted to speak a little bit on him. So if there is time, we will try to do that in the last 5-10 minutes. Now, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura is also saying that only when one becomes very mature, then they can sit in a solitary place and then retire from preaching. Otherwise, it is not advisable. So, who can retire and preach? A spiritual master or an advanced devotee, a bona fide, serious devotee of the Lord. After completing their preaching activities in terms of making sure that there are his disciples become capable of preaching further and then taking this forward, then the spiritual master can actually retire. And then he can retire into solitude and then he can then do Nirjana Bhajana. So Nirjana Bhajana is silent worship of the Supreme Lord, but it is not for others. So this is one aspect that Prabhupada is bringing out. But anyway, Malaya Dhwaja in our narration undertakes this Nirjana Bhajana. And then, but now we should understand that this Nirjana Bhajana is only for advanced devotees. And here, Prabhupada is taking the example of the spiritual master himself. So the spiritual master can retire. Then, in the next verse, what is happening? The wife of Malayadhvaja, Vaidharbi. So Vaidharbi, that's the name of the of Puranjana in the form of a lady in the next avatar. So she is actually following. So she is following who? She is like a very chaste woman. chase to Malayadhvaja, the husband, and she immediately follows him because he is going off to the forest. So it is her, she understands it is her duty to follow him because she doesn't have a place independent of the husband. So she just follows. And here the analogy that is given is just like how moonshine is following the moon at the night. The moon is moving, then the moonshine also is moving, following accordingly, right? It also moves. So in the same way, when Malayadhvaja is leaving the kingdom, then she also, like a devoted wife, leaves. And that the word for this kind of a thing, devoted wife, is very chaste lady. Now, she gives up all her homely happiness and then family, children. It's very difficult to give up family and children for a lady, especially because there is so much of um, emotional attachment that is there for a lady, especially for a lady, with respect to children, with respect to family. So in fact, even Kunti Maharani also in her prayers says that, there's so much of attachment I have to my family. In fact, I'm attached on both sides, my mother's side as well as my husband's side. There's so much of attachment, means father and husband side. There are two large family clans are there, and then I need to give this up kind of a prayer she makes. So like this, she gives it up and then she follows. Now, in the purport, if you look at it, Prabhupada actually takes this word chastity and then he uses it for a disciple. Then Prabhupada says that for a disciple, serving the spiritual master till the end is chastity. So very chaste disciple means they are always loyal to the spiritual master. So very nicely is bringing that analogy out. Just like how a wife follows the husband, or in this case, Vaidharbi is following Malayadhvaja, giving up all the good things of life. A disciple, a very close disciple of the spiritual master, also will never leave the side of a spiritual master, even during old age, even when the spiritual master is doing nirjana bhajana. That means he is retired to a solitary place and then he is doing nirjana bhajana. Some of the very senior disciples who are very close to the spiritual master, they also follow and then they are with the spiritual master trying to take care of his bodily needs, because at that point the spiritual master would have aged, and with age comes certain inabilities for an individual. We are aware of that. So during that period, when there is some need for help or some dependency is there, then the disciple very humbly, very enthusiastically, without seeking any adoration or favor, continues or engages in Vapu Seva, or serving the body of the spiritual master. The serving the body of the spiritual master is very, very important. And that is why, and there's a lot of patience is needed, a lot of dedication is needed, a lot of love is needed. Only then it will happen. Very similar to how a chaste wife can follow the husband. In the same way, the disciple also follows. We have examples in our Shastras, in the Puranas. If you look at the Pandavas, after their rule, after they won the war, and then after the rule, then Yudhishthir Maharaj decides, he understands that it's time for me to leave. So they crown the grandson, Parikshit Maharaj, as the emperor, and then Yudhishthir Maharaj first gives up all the royal dresses and then he takes on simple dress, wears it, and then he is leaving. Seeing this, Bhima follows. Seeing that, Arjuna follows. Seeing that, Sahadeva and Nakula follow. And seeing all the five of them do this, Draupadi automatically also follows. Without, in fact, in the purports, when this is being described, it is said they don't even speak a word. They don't even say, are you coming? I am going. Nothing of that sort. The moment they change their dress and they are leaving, they all understood, oh, it is time for us to give up our rule or this duty of a Kshatriya, and then I have to just follow and then get into solitude or nirjana bhajana. It's time to get into that. So they start moving. And then there's no like, are you coming? That kind of thing. They don't even look, I believe. They just do that, and then each one is then seeing the other one, they immediately follow suit. And then seeing all the five, Draupadi Mata also does the same thing. She also changes her dress from royal fineries to giving up all of that, wearing a simple cloth, and then she also walks behind the husbands. So this is one of the signs of chastity, and that is something very which disciple also does. Now there is another aspect that is coming up. So there is another word that we need to pay attention to is Madhirekshana. So what is Madhirekshana? Madhirekshana. Madhira means we know is intoxication. Madhira is intoxication. Madhira and then Akshana. Akshana. Aksha means eyes. So eyes intoxicated. Intoxicated eyes is Madhirekshana. So now, in fact, Jiva Goswami in his Sandarbha, he is explaining Madhira, the same thing he is explaining, where he says, intoxicated eyes. The eyes become intoxicated with love. With love for what? The love for Godhead or for Krishna. So, or for the Vaishnava, for the spiritual master. In this case, you develop a love for the spiritual master, and with your eyes intoxicated with love. But in the lecture that I was listening to, Maharaj was saying that how this Madhirekshana is the love that we need to have or develop this Madhirekshana for Krishna or deity of Krishna. So there he goes on to say that how one needs to take darshan of the deities. So when you have to take darshan of the deities in any temple, we are not supposed to look at it and then think, oh, this is made of stone, this is marble, granite. It's not like that, because that kind of consciousness is a lower consciousness. So the right proper way is to understand that the Lord himself is there, and then he is appearing through this medium of stone or wood or whatever. That is because of his mercy, because we cannot see his actual form. We don't have the facility to see the Lord because we depend on our eyes to see the Lord, and the eyes can only recognize material things. So the Lord mercifully manifested through the medium of this material manifestation or material media, so that we can see, so that we can recognize. Otherwise, we will not be able to do it. So Prabhupada also says the same thing, where he says that it is not wood, it is not a representation of God. It is God himself, and that's how then we have to look at it. Because if God is everywhere, then why can't he be there in that material form that I'm able to see, which could be wood or stone or whatever. So that is how then one needs to see. And then having darshan, it's not like just like that, go and have darshan, but you start from the feet and then move upwards, and then in all humility, in all humbleness, one has to actually take darshan in that way. So that's how, those are some of the points that Maharaj was talking about in the same particular lecture. Then it says that a guru or a spiritual master, they are not dependent on their disciples or anything like that. We should not think, okay, now I am helping my guru. It's not like that. Because the body is old, might need some assistance, that is okay. But again, we are not supposed to look at the guru or the body of the guru as an ordinary body, but we should again consider it as our good fortune that we are able to do some service for the guru, and not that I am helping the guru. Actually, the guru is still helping me by giving me an opportunity to serve him, the Vapu Seva. So it could be that he is in a position because of age or whatever, he may not be able to carry out his physical activities, but then there is help or there is seva that is being done. I shouldn't even call it as help. There is seva that is happening by the disciple, and that seva still, though in the materialistic eye it might look like the able person or the disciple is actually helping the guru, but then it is the other way around, because the guru is the one who is favorably giving this opportunity of seva opportunity for his disciple. So that's the mood, or that's the consciousness in which one needs to carry out this particular seva. So there are a lot of intricate, subtle points like this which came up. And then we can also see that by the pastime of how Ishwar Puri and Madhavendra Puri. We know that Madhavendra Puri's disciple is Ishwar Puri, and some of you would have heard how Ishwar Puri actually used to do menial service for Madhavendra Puri. Because I mean, he used to clean and maintain that place, and then he used to do so many seva. The Vapu seva, he is known for it. Ishwar Puri was known for Vapu seva of Madhavendra Puri. And then that is how then he got the benediction, or he got the mercy of his guru, that is Madhavendra Puri, and then he became the Acharya. And he became the Acharya for the Lord himself, for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's the kind of role that he had to play. But then there was an other personality at the same time who did not get the same mercy. The Guru did not give that mercy to that individual, and that is Ramachandra Puri. So, Ishwar Puri and Ramachandra Puri, both of them are disciples of Madhavendra Puri. But because of the disposition of Ishwar Puri and how he took to serving his spiritual master, he got this benediction. Whereas Ramachandra Puri, he did not get that benediction. Why? Because the opposite happened for him. That was because he actually was in the consciousness of criticizing or finding fault. In fact, what happens is Ishwar Puri and Madhavendra Puri are god brothers. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu becomes the disciple of Ishwar Puri. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu equally is respecting Ramachandra Puri also, because he is your spiritual master's god brother. No? So he is also as good as the spiritual master. So we have to consider like that, correct? So he is also a guru. So he is very respectful to him, and then he is playing that role. But Ramachandra Puri is finding fault with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that too in a very roundabout way, you know. So that did not go well, because even though respect was there, Ramchandra Puri used to say, when he used to come to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's kutir, or the place where he is, and then he notices there are a lot of ants. Then he looks at all the ants that are flowing here and there, wherever. He says, your room has got a lot of ants, so you must be keeping a lot of sweets with you, and you must be eating a lot of sweets. That is not good for you, because you're you're on your way to, I mean, in the spiritual progress, this is not a very good thing to do. So like this, he used to find fault and then criticize none other than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, which is actually an aparad. But then, because of etiquette, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after hearing about this, he used to instruct his disciples not to serve him too much. He says, I have been told that I eat too much and I'm attached, so I don't want. And he reduces his eating to half. And then he immediately reduces it to half. So like that, this particular incident happens. But now, if you look at why Ramachandra Puri acted this way, it is because Ramachandra Puri actually made an aparat to his guru. So that consciousness continued, because he was finding fault with his guru also, I believe, or he was trying to advise his guru. So that what happened, his guru is Madhavendra Puri. So Madhavendra Puri was in his ecstasy. You know the mood of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri is the one who actually brought out this aspect of Vipralamba Bhava, of Radharani, of love of Radharani, and then the mood of separation and all of this. He is the one who brought out those aspects, and then into our parampara, and then it continued. So Madhavendra Puri was feeling very sad and ecstatic. Feelings of separation from the Lord was there, and then he was crying and he was feeling very sad. You know, that is the kind of situation he was in. Ishwar Puri understood the feelings of Madhavendra Puri. He did not say anything. But Ramachandra Puri, he sees that. And then he says, he begins to advise him. He says, oh, Guru, you should not be crying. You should not feel sad. In fact, you should be happy because it says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. So you are like, you should be a Prasannatma. You cannot be sad all like this always. That's how he is trying to find fault and then say this is not the mood and all. But here the conclusion is that he did not understand these higher intricate things and the feelings that Madhavendra Puri was going through. But he just looked at the Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma kind of a thing, where he said that you should be happy because you are aware of Brahman. And so it had the tinges of Mayavad, this thing. And that actually disappointed Madhavendra Puri so much. And then he was not very happy with the way. It's not because he chastised him, but or tried to find fault or correct him, but more so because he misunderstood the whole thing. He didn't get the subtler aspect of bhakti, of love, of vipralamba, etc. So, like this, we can see how Ramachandra Puri, his mentality continued. And then he had this touch of impersonalism because of Brahman and trying to be Brahmabhuta. So, all these aspects did not add up well for Ramachandra Puri, and he did not get the mercy. Whereas Ishwar Puri, because of the Vapu Seva, it had an opposite effect on him. He was able to bask in the mercy of Madhavendra Puri's shelter, and then thereby then the benefit was that he also became a spiritual master, and then he was in the lineage. If you look at after Madhavendra Puri to Ishwar Puri, and then it is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he is in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Parampara. So like this, we can see how serving the Guru becomes very important. Then, how to serve the Guru with Madhirekshana. We know we have to serve, but we have to serve with the proper mood. With Madhirekshana, Madhirekshana means intoxicated love, with eyes intoxicated with love. And that's how then we need to look, that eyes of compassion, eyes filled with love, and then you carry out the seva. That's how it should be. It's not even duty bound. This is beyond duty. Duty bound is anyway I have to do, so I'll do. But your eyes may not have that love. It may not show or reveal. Or even the face, why the eyes? The face itself might have a frown, but then you just do it out of duty, which is okay, acceptable to some extent. But here we are talking about higher things where there's so much of love for the spiritual master, and then they do it. And that's how then the chaste wife comparison is being made. Then when we are talking about Madhirekshana, there is one wonderful pastime of Ramanujacharya. So some of you might be aware of this, where there is this disciple of Ramanujacharya, husband and wife. They were not husband and wife then when this incident happened. So there was in Srirangam, Ramanujacharya was there, and there was a procession that was happening of Ranganatha. Ranganatha's Utsav Murti is come out into the streets, and there is a procession taking place. Everybody, when there is a procession happening, naturally everybody's eyes are on the person who's being taken around in the procession, and that is Ranganatha himself. So everybody is in that festive mode. There is singing, dancing, kirtan, whatever, all that is happening, and there is this mood of bhakti. People are chanting and all of that, and there is this procession that is going on. Then there is one strange sight comes up. There is one man who is holding an umbrella to another good-looking lady, and because of the sun, to give her protection. And he is completely oblivious of the surrounding. He is just staring at her face, looking into her eyes, and then he is not bothered about the whole world. It looked like as though the whole world did not exist, or in that street where he is coming in the opposite direction like this, the whole procession, nobody mattered. The Lord, the procession, the Utsav Murti, nothing. For him, he was oblivious to all of this. For him, what was most important is to stare at the face of that lady, and he's just holding the umbrella and look. So it actually made a very funny sight. So people were condemning, some people were laughing and then condemning this man. His name was Dhanur. So Dhanur, and this lady was actually his girlfriend kind of a thing. They were not even married, but he was completely, what do you call, affected by this lady. And then he was, he had no, I mean, he was like adoring her kind of a thing, you know, he just, and then he liked her eyes so much and all of that. So Ramacharya sees this and then he is amused by this. And then, but then Ramacharya being the Acharya, he is able to see the quality in that particular individual. He says, look at the amount of ekagrate this person has got, so much of concentration. Like he is not bothered about what is happening in the surrounding. There are people singing, kartals, sound is happening, so many things, and there's procession, people are there. Generally, you will try to look there, right? Even if you're immersed in your WhatsApp or whatever in the mobile, if you see a procession coming, you will stop looking and then you'll look up and then you'll want to see what is happening. But this man, he did not even take a look. He did not look like they all didn't exist. He was just staring and then he was walking like that. So this actually, he is able to see this quality of how the single-minded focus is there for this individual. So he says, call that man. So then the disciples go and call. They say, please come, Ramacharya actually wants to talk to you. Then he is disturbed, like I say, okay, fine, I'll come. So he just comes, okay, somebody's calling, I'll go. Then he says, I see you walk like this. What is it that is so attractive? Why is it that you are not even looking at such a wonderful festive atmosphere that is surrounding you? And he says, my Lord, my Master, the eyes of this lady is so attractive that I just cannot take my eyes off her eyes. So I just feel like staring at her. So like that he says. Then Ramacharya says, if I show you something or an eyes of another person who's more attractive than this lady's eyes, then will you show the same love and love for that person? He says, of course, yes, obviously. If there is somebody whose eyes are much more attractive, then naturally I will feel more attracted to that person. He says, okay, if that's the case, then you come tomorrow to the temple. I will show you a pair of eyes which is more attractive than the eyes that you are so infatuated with. So he says, okay. So the next day he goes there, and then there Ramacharya shows him the eyes of Ranganathaji. And then after seeing that, he is stunned. And then he's actually that quality of ekagrate and then seeing it in the way it has to be seen. He was only seeing the wrong object. But then now when it was made to see the eyes of Lord Ranganatha, then a transformation happens for him. And then he pays obeisances to Ramacharya and he says that you really have opened my eyes. Now I understand. And then he says those eyes are much more beautiful. There is no other eyes that are more beautiful than the eyes of the Lord. And then in this way, then he becomes his disciple. And then Ramacharya tells him that you should get married to this lady. And then the lady also becomes a disciple. She also is impressed by this whole thing. And then they take to Vaishnavism. And there are many pastimes that happen in the course, like the way it's the same lady who tries to sleep the other side when the disciples want to remove the gold and jewelry. Actually, they are stealing. They want to remove. So she thinks that, okay, the ashram needs some money, it looks like, so they are taking my gold. So let them take. So let me turn the other side so that they can take the bangle and other things on my other hand. You know, the one hand they've already removed, even though she was faking like she was asleep, and then they were removing. And this was again under the instruction of Ramacharya. That's an interesting pastime where Ramacharya shows to what extent the transformation has happened for Dhanurdas and his wife now. When they get married and all of that. So they are grihasthas who are disciples of Ramacharya. So this way we can understand how Madhirekshana means being intoxicated with love of Godhead. And that's the point that we are seeing in this particular verse. And then we saw Nirjana Bhajana, that is solitude, doing worship, which is not recommended, but then very senior elevated devotees can do that. And then when they do that, then the disciples, the close disciples of the spiritual master, involve themselves in the Vapu Seva, and that is the chastity angle we saw, like how the wife followed her husband. In the same way, the disciple, some of the disciples will follow the spiritual master when he retires for Nirjana Bhajana. And then what mood one has to do that? That is we saw in Madhirekshana. Then finally in verse 35, I mean 30, the last two verses, there the whole aspect of how one needs to lead an austere life is coming up. And in austerity, the foremost thing is about fasting. So the importance of fasting is being explained by Srila Prabhupada in that particular verse, two verses which are together. So 35 and 36. So in 35 and 36, what happens is how Malayadhwaja and his wife are leading their life. That is being described here. How they retire to this place where the Kulachala, where there are rivers, Tamraparani, Vathodaka, and Chandravasa. So that must be somewhere in the south. So there, how they are living a very pious life by the side of the river, and then they are just depending on nature, eating leaves, fruits, roots, etc., drinking water from the stream, that kind of a life. So here, in fact, Prabhupada talks again, he's taking the reference of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura, and then he is saying how his spiritual master, that is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura, criticized his fat disciples. So he said, like, because see, spiritual life and bhakti and eating too much don't go hand in hand. Now, some of you might think, but Prabhupada said you have to eat prasadam up to your neck. You should not starve yourself and those sort of things. Yes, Prabhupada has said that, but then that is at the initial stage. So somebody might think, on one side they say we should not eat too much, we should do fasting, we should do all of this, we have to punish our body, and then one side Prabhupada says that you can eat up to the neck, eat, chant, and eat, chant, and dance, and then get liberated. That's the watchword for our movement, right? So then where it looks like there's a contradiction, but actually there is no contradiction, because Prabhupada meant or said that for people who are just joining in, who have just started their journey in bhakti, who are beginning to understand. Earlier, they were given to eating all types of nonsense. To stop them from eating all types of nonsense, he used to say, fill up your tummy up to your neck or up to your ears or whatever, up to the throat with prasadam, so that you will not feel like eating anything else outside of prasadam or when you're out. So that way you fill it up fully so that you don't have that craving or that urge. On a full stomach, we will not have any urge. Even if you have the best of the things cooked in the best way, even if somebody is offering it to you, you will immediately, no, I can't have it, because you're already so full, your stomach cannot take anymore, even though you like it. So in that way, then Prabhupada used to say that you have to eat up to the neck prasada. But then as we progress, as we continue our services, as we do chanting and all the seva we are doing, then we will have to be mindful of what we eat. We should reduce our eating. And we should also, how is that possible? That Prabhupada in the purport is saying that you should not eat anything else other than prasadam. That is the rule number one. So now anything outside of prasadam we don't eat. So when there is prasadam, if we eat fully, that is okay. Then the next stage is when there are certain days which are there, Madhava Tithi. So Madhava Tithi are the important days where you will have to fast. So like Janmashtami is there, or Ekadashis are there, or appearance and disappearance days are there. So today is actually the disappearance day of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. So there we are fasting till 12 noon. And then we do Pushpanjali. And then after that, then we sit and then take prasadam, trying to remember his instructions and all that. So this is how the whole setup is there. So it helps us to practice fasting. It helps us to eat less. Ekadashis, appearance days and all. So that is why they say Madhava Tithi, Bhakti Janani. Actually, Madhava Tithi, if you observe by fasting, then it gives birth to Bhakti, Bhakti Janani. So it gives birth to Bhakti. What gives birth to Bhakti? Madhavitithi. Madhavitithi, what happens? There is austerity that is happening. So austerities are very much important for progressing in our spiritual life. And that is what is being brought out here in this particular purport. So So human form of life is meant for austerity, and austerity means controlling sex, food intake, etc. This is what Prabhupada is mentioning. In this way, time can be saved for spiritual activity. One, you get more time for spiritual activity. Today, you don't have to Ekadasi if you're doing, or you only have to cut some fruits or make some juice or something and then keep it. That's also, there's no elaborate cooking that is happening on that day. So you save a lot of time. So on that saved time then can be used for spiritual activity, for some seva, for chanting, or for doing something, little extra reading and things like that. So one can actually purify himself or herself, both externally and internally. So when we fast, then physically also there is some cleansing that happens. There is a detox that happens, etc., etc. And then the mind, intelligence, the buddhi, and then the ego, all of it, there is purification that happens up to the soul level. And then the soul, of course, is pure. So we are able to reflect the what do you call the mood of the soul, or the soul's nature is reflected very well when all these coverings are all removed in this way. So thus the body and the mind can be cleansed. When the body and the mind gets cleansed, then the nature of the soul shines through. So which means that we are also like the soul in its purest form, we know that it is not having any of these defects. So we come across as a different individual at that point. So this is how Prabhupada is so wonderfully relating to whatever incidents Narada Muni is stating. Narada Muni has an intention where it is just what happened today in the 3 verses that we saw. It is just that Malayadhwaja gave up, divided his kingdom, gave up his kingdom, and then proceeded to the forest. And when he proceeded, then that is Puranjana in the female in the woman's body, she follows him. That is what we are seeing. And then after they go there, what do? They live the life of ascetics, like they are doing austerities there. So these are the 3 things that are there in these verses. Those 3 things, the qualities of chastity is coming up. Then the quality, and then the aspect of nirjana bhajana and why it is not a. So something is okay, something is not okay, and then when it is okay, when it is not okay. Even austerity also. So all of this we saw today. So right from nirjana bhajana, which is necessary, but then it is not recommended for neophytes. And we know what is nirjana bhajana. It is silent worship. Then we also saw how the wife follows the husband in the same way, and we saw examples of Draupadi, Pandavas, all of them. Then how the spiritual master is followed by the disciple to assist that spiritual master when he takes to nirjana bhajana. Then how to do the seva? With madhirekshana. That means with eyes intoxicated with love. That means to have love in the heart, and then do that particular seva without any pratishtha, puja, labha, pratishtha. There is no glorification, not even praise. It is not even praised by the spiritual master. You don't look for all of that. You just do the seva, that's all. When Madhavendra Puri was actually cleaning up the place after, when Ishwar Puri was cleaning up the place after Madhavendra Puri used it for evacuating or emptying his stomach, clearing his stomach, then he used to clear up. But nobody knew who was doing it. Madhavendra Puri didn't know at all. He used to say, somebody is clearing up this place. I want to find out who it is. And then one night he stays back, and then not night, in the early morning, that is before sun up. And then he sees then Ishwar Puri doing this. So they don't even come in the front to say that I have done this seva. So that so much of humility, so much of humbleness, they do this seva. And that is the whole aspect of just love and nothing else. And that is bhakti, or that is what do you call seva bhav, that we have to bring forth within ourselves whenever we are doing any seva. And then for all this, for advancement to happen, we have to do austerity. So a fat person and then doing bhakti they don't go together. They are like they have a negative correlation, you can say. I mean, now don't go about judging people, but this is what you can hear or read in these pages, where in fact Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj used to condemn his fat disciples and then tell them that you are eating too much. And then they will say, no, 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 we're not eating too much. Then where did all the fat come from? It came automatically? No. So you've been eating and that is what is being stored as fat. Okay, some people might have the advantage. They don't put on weight even if they eat more. That is different. But then eating too much is not uh, it's not a very good sign for progressing in bhakti. And then the same aspects are being discussed by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj also. So I've got another 2-3 minutes now. It's almost 10:30. So here, like I said, I'll just speak about some instructions that Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj gave to all his disciples. So that will be something to dwell on for us for today. Okay. So, and it is aligning to whatever we have been seeing the whole of, in the last 1 hour. So we know he got the name as Lion Guru or Simha Guru or Kesari. He is Acharya Kesari. He's called as Acharya means Guru, Kesari means lion. So why? Because he was very, very strong in his preaching and then in the way he used to push forth Vaishnavism during that period when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was there, that period was very, very difficult for Vaishnavas because you had this rise of these other types of spiritual people, entity, who were actually trying to uh, align Western thinking with Hindu philosophy, like the likes of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So there were a whole lot of people who were following that path. And in that path, Advaita or impersonalism was being highlighted. Whereas this bhakti and then seva, all of this was considered as very, very low or very immature. And then there was also this Sahajiyas who used to have their own philosophy. So it was so much um, uh, misinterpreted and then misrepresented that it looked like what do you call this any other philosophy other than Advaita. It looked like it is very primitive and very it's not a very advanced thing. It is more for people who are not very intelligent kind of a thing. So that was the mood. And then he took it upon himself to ensure how Vaishnavism is actually the opposite of what is being considered in those days by everybody. And then you have these very dominant people who are champions of this, and it was called as the Bengali Renaissance, I believe. So when they were trying to they thought that they are bringing up Hinduism by equating it to Western philosophy, Western concepts. So they thought we should rise up because before that, what had happened? Hinduism was considered even more primitive and down. So they thought at least by taking the aspects of Advaita, then you can at least establish the fact that this is also as good as your Western teachings or whatever. So that as good as Western teaching, and you come up to that point. So then thereby then people who are practicing deity worship and all or Bhakti Seva, Bhakti Marga, they were considered very, very low. So, because mostly these people were educated, like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Swami Vivekananda, and all. So, during that period, he came and then he actually established the Gaudiya Math. He opened 64 centers across India, and then he tried to bring about the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what is bhakti, how to serve, then the Trina Tabi Sunichena Taru Riva Sahishnuna, all these aspects, he actually is a forerunner who brought about that. Actually, his father, that is Bhakti Vinod Thakura, he was involved in getting together all the literatures because before that period, everything was lost. So trying to find out the place of Chaitanya birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the things he did. And then the literatures, getting them together, the Shad Goswami's literatures were all here and there. It was not very easily traceable and all that. So Bhakti Vinod Thakura was a pioneer. He did those things. And then the son, he took up the aspect of now the literature, everything was ready. So then he started spreading it across. And then that is why he was among the first who started preaching extensively. So building 64 Gaudiya Mats across India, and then sending books, periodicals he wrote, and then he actually published many books, and he gave the instruction to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that in case, to Srila Prabhupada, that in case if you make money, print books. So he stressed the need for books for educating people so that people become aware. So he actually played a lion role in ensuring that Gaudiya Vaishnavism or Vaishnavism itself is getting that respectable position. And then, of course, Prabhupada took it further. He took it to all over the world. And that is under the instructions of his spiritual master, that is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. So actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Maharaj is the guru of Srila Prabhupada. And today is his disappearance day. So there are these 8 things that he said. One is, he is a scholar. He was a very erudite scholar, but his guru was an illiterate. So this humility aspect is coming across there. And then he says that anything little you see in a person, anything good you see in a person, appreciate it. Means don't look at the fault in the individual, see the good aspect and then appreciate it and ignore the negatives. Then he says you become the dust under the feet of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami because their teachings are so prime that you aspire to become a dust under the feet of them because they are the ones who gave us this whole literature about Vaishnava. Then he also said, cooperate together for Krishna. Prabhupada also repeated all of this. So most of it you would have seen Prabhupada repeating it because he was his guru. So, so naturally he will repeat what his guru has said. So then he said, next one he said was, you should somehow live a life without quarrel. Quarrel is second nature to us. Somehow or the other, live a life without quarrel. So that is what he was saying. But how to live a life without quarrel? By putting Krishna in the center. Then he says, don't give up service due to any danger or obstacle. Whatever obstacles you face in life, do not give up your service. Do not give up chanting. Then he says, a reading of Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam. All of these bhakti activities, don't give up. And then he said, the last 2, always hear and chant the name. Don't give up. Yeah, I covered that. And then he said, we should do this. We should have the patience and forbearance of a tree and humbleness of a grass. That is that verse, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarur Eva Sahishnuna. So like this, some 8 messages that he has given. And this was actually told by, I saw a video where Radhanath Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was explaining these 8. And then I just noted it down and then I just read it out for all of you. Of course, he goes on to explain each one of them, but in the interest of time, I'll stop here. And with the mood, with the how do we serve all these great personalities? By following their instructions or trying to follow their instructions. Make that effort, especially when he says, no, do anything, but somehow live a life without quarrel. Some very basic instructions, but very profound, very, very much necessary to ensure that our bhakti latha or the small creeper of bhakti is protected well. It doesn't get destroyed by maya or by ego. It doesn't get destroyed. So when we follow these simple things in life, but then very difficult things, though it might sound very simple, but then they are very difficult. So if you are able to follow those, then definitely their mercy is on us and we will be able to further advance our Krishna consciousness, our bhakti or the mood of bhakti or mood of seva, what we do, the quality of our service, everything will improve. On that note, I'll stop here. Sorry, I took a little extra time. It's 10:37, but I'll stop here. If there are any comments or questions anybody has, kindly go ahead and you can speak now. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful session.